So, last week we had The Flash, and this week we have Supergirl. Let's talk about it. So Supergirl has now reached the end of its 5th season, and similarly to The Flash and also, on the other hand, Batwoman Season 1, this final season has been unfortunately cut short, with the episode ending on episode 19, which wasn't the intended season finale. Now, Supergirl is actually a bit more lucky in comparison to the other shows in the Arrowverse, as episode 20 was actually meant to be its season finale, so it was really only one episode short, and they actually had filmed some stuff of episode 20, so this episode is kind of a mishmash of the two episodes, so this one feels a bit more complete as a finale in comparison to something like The Flash Season 6. However, Season 5 for me, going into this finale and building up this entire season, has just been incredibly weak and incredibly messy, that I just wasn't really looking forward to this finale, and looking back on the season as a whole, I think this is a contender for the worst season of the show. But I do want to start off with some positives, as there were some things I did like about this season. For one, Melissa Benoist continues to be a fantastic casting for Supergirl. She completely embodies the character of Kara Danvers. She really excels at these scenes of just being incredibly inspirational and hopeful, and I think that she really inspires her, other characters around her, the people within the world, and you can see why she was chosen to play this character. I think that Supergirl as a character is someone who does need to embody those things, and I think Melissa does a really good job of just taking that material and delivering it time and time again. Also, Chyla Lee, who once again plays Alex Danvers, continues to be the best character on this show. I just have always enjoyed her stories, I've always enjoyed her personal struggles, what she goes through on the show, and I think Chyla Lee is one of the better actresses we have on the show, so I really enjoy Alex once again in this season, especially where her story goes. I enjoyed her internal struggle she faces this season, in that she isn't as part of the DEO anymore, but she still wants to feel like she matters and that she's making a difference, and I think that's quite a relatable storyline, and given where it ends up in the finale with her basically becoming a vigilante, I think that's a really exciting story for Season 6, which I think, again, for Alex being probably my favourite character on the show, I'm very excited to see where this eventually goes. Also, Jon Cryer returns this season as Lex Luthor, and I just love this casting of Jon Cryer as Lex. I mean, I was the first to shoot this down. I remember, I've spoken about in my Flash review how I have like a DC channel and stuff. On that channel, when Jon Cryer was cast, I was shooting it down. I was saying, I don't see it. No, don't see it. But he came in last season and completely stole the entirety of Season 4, and he kind of saved that season, and really just took everyone's breath away. And in this season, he continued to do that. As soon as he came in, and just all these changes with Crisis, and him actually taking a part in Crisis was really fun, and just his role throughout the season has been really fun, performance-wise, from Jon Cryer, because he's such an entertaining Lex, and he's a genuinely maniacal but methodical villain that you just love to watch. And the other real standout for me this season was Jesse Rath as Brainiac 5, who is just becoming more and more one of my favourite characters as the seasons go on. I think Brainy has probably had the most consistently strong storyline this season, because while I feel like this season overall has been fairly messy from a writing perspective, I think that Brainy's story has been the most consistent in regards to what he's been going through, the way he's had to perform it. I think Jesse, similarly to Chyla, is one of the stronger actors on the show, and I think the way he portrays a lot of the struggle he's going through this season, having to keep secrets from the people that he loves and cares for, while also having to play Lex like a fiddle in a way, even though of course you can't really play Lex like a fiddle, but at least in his head that's what he was doing. It's just really good to see Jesse really stretch that out a little bit and flesh Brainy out a bit more. And we got to see the different sides of Brainy as well. We got to see, these different versions of Brainy that all sort of subside under the big brain, which I really enjoyed all that stuff as well. So I think Jesse has really had a great season this year. So I'm very excited to see more of him and his story going forward into Season 6.
I thought after Baker got ousted, people would be motivated to fight harder than ever for social change. It seems like they're all just hiding behind their gadgets. Technology makes escaping an addiction. What happened to the simple pleasure of greeting another person with words?
However, moving over to the negatives for this season, I just wasn't really a fan of this main story. I don't think this story was particularly well handled, and I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that I think it was very confusing. I think that the general audience for this show I think most people didn't really get what this story was. I didn't get what this story was. I still feel like after this finale, I don't understand what the whole story or the whole plot was. I feel like after this most recent episode, this finale, I feel like I kind of have got a gist on it now. I think I know what it was, but I'm not 100% sure, and that's not really a good thing. I think that this season really dropped the ball when it came to the villain, which was Leviathan. They set up Leviathan at the end of Season 4, and they were this secret organization that we didn't really know anything about. And we didn't really know anything about them for the majority of this season either, and they are kind of meant to be the big bad of the year. And I just didn't really feel like I had any connection to them. I didn't really feel like I knew what they wanted to do. I didn't know how Lex came into that, and it was just a very confusing storyline overall that I think most people just walked out of each episode more confused and with more questions than answers. And like I say, Lex, even though I think performance-wise Jon Cryer absolutely knocked it out of the park once again, his connection to Leviathan and what he actually wanted to do is still unclear at this point. There is still meant to be one more episode, of course, of this season where basically Lex was going to be the big bad of this like last episode, but we're not going to see that until next year now. So we still don't really know what Lex wants to do. So again, I'm very confused on all that stuff. And then you've got the Obsidian storyline as well, how that ties into Leviathan, which I'm not 100% sure on either. I feel like that storyline was something that they brought in for the theme of the season, which was technology and how technology can affect the human race. But the whole Obsidian side of it, again, I think I know what it was now, and I think I know the connection to Leviathan, but it's not very well portrayed and it's not very well explained. You know, I didn't get this until this most recent episode, or at least I think I did. So, again, I think the Obsidian stuff, it was mainly there to tie with the theme of the season, but it doesn't really tie into the story particularly well.
Leviathan is coming.
This is a special moment in time. We're on the precipice of wondrous things. I'm determined to have Obsidian tech in every household within the year. Obsidian North will change the fabric of what it means to be human.
And also, this season does actually feature the 100th episode, and 100th episodes on the CW shows are always really good. You know, whether you look at the Arrow one or the Flash one that we got last year, they're always really nice episodes that just kind of, you know, you get to bring certain cast members back and you get to just have this really fan-centric episode. But for me personally, this 100th episode was really weak. I just feel like this was one of the weaker episodes of the season, in fact. I just think the way it was done was a bit lazy. I feel like it didn't really make sense in terms of what they were doing. They were basically watching literal past episodes of the show in the show, which was really bizarre. And even though they kind of explained it by having Mr. Mxyzptlk come back in, but it just didn't really work for me personally. I know it worked for a lot of people, and that's really good. Obviously, it's all personal opinion. It's just for me personally, that 100th episode and the structure of it and how they did it didn't really work for me, but it was nice to bring characters like Wynn back, who had been back for a couple episodes by that point. Bringing Chris Wood as Mon-El back was really cool. So I feel like it was a decent episode. It just wasn't as good as some of the other 100th episodes that we'd seen on the CW. So overall, Supergirl Season 5 was a decent season, I think, of the show. It's not horrendous, it's not terrible. I do think that this season does have some good qualities to it. Again, I like a lot of the performances again in this season. I really enjoy the characters of the show, and I really enjoy particularly what they did with Alex and Kara and Lex and Brainy in particular, and Nia as well. I think Dreamer had some good stuff in the season. There were a couple of characters who fell by the wayside, like Jean once again fell by the wayside, doesn't really do much. But I feel like that this season, it just really had a major issue smack bang in the middle of it, which was Leviathan and the confusing storytelling, which really let the season down, especially in this back half of the season, where I was really trying to figure out what the story actually was, and who the villain was, and what their plan was, and how that tied into Lex, and how that tied into Obsidian North. And it was just so bewildering that I was watching each episode and not even really focusing because I was trying to piece together the plot, and I think that's a bit of a big issue. So again, it's not a terrible season, and I think it's probably better than Season 1, but in terms of my Supergirl season ranking, it would definitely be on the lower end. So with all that said, I'm going to give Supergirl Season 5 a 2 out of 5. I think that this season, again, it's a bit of an improvement on Season 1. I don't think it has the long stretches of boredom that Season 1 had, but I do feel like this season was really lacking from a core storyline that was just well written and actually clear. and I feel like that it really lets the season down, especially when the character stories within the episodes and within the season were fairly strong. But if you guys seen all of Supergirl Season 5 yet, if you have, make sure to let me know all your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Were you a fan of it, or were you disappointed? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments down below. And as always guys, if you want to see more TV reviews and TV related videos just like this one, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads from me, and I hope to see you guys again next time.